Hi, James. It's Aubrey and my dad,
James, how are you?
Pat, and we're back. It was really fun for us last week to see how people received this gentleman's stories about UFOs and apparitions, and we've got a couple more about see-through characters for you this week. So, Dad, I'm going to let you take it away with your Bay Ridge story to start.
I have had in my life, I've seen many strange things, but I can honestly say that I've only seen two full-bodied apparitions. I have a photograph of another. Two full-body apparitions. And the first one I saw, we lived in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. And I was quite an avid runner. And what I would do is I would run down from our home to the Narrows, the shore of Brooklyn. This area was called Bay Ridge, and it was called Shore Parkway or something of that nature. But what it was an area, very affluent area of old Victorian mansions. And as I was nearing the end of my run, I would always save the uphill part for the last and go to the highest point. I was running one day up this hill, and I was passing this stately old Victorian home, and I looked up. Something caught my eye, and what caught my eye was there was a woman standing in a tower. Above the tower was an old widow's walk, but this woman was standing in a tower looking out at the Narrows, which is the space of water between Brooklyn and Staten Island, New York, and the very beginnings of New York Harbor. And I thought it odd at first, but then I really thought it to be odd because, one, the building was boarded up. The house had been abandoned for a number of years. I don't know how long. I passed the house 100 times, never really noticed it. But did see her standing up in the tower, staring out towards the Narrows and or the harbor.
Oh my gosh.
And the other thing that caught my eye was I could literally see through her. And
like, how long was it after you saw her that you thought, wow, this is like looking at cellophane. I can see right through this person.
It didn't catch it immediately. I mean, I didn't think it in those terms.
Right.
But what I did notice was that she seemed to be very sad. She had her head down, and at one point she put her hand over her eyes. And when I got home, I was a little bit taken by the whole thing. As I said, the building was boarded up.
Right.
And I got home, and I discussed it with my wife, Helene, and
standing right over there.
And lo and behold, the next day, the headlines, it was one of the top news stories of the day, again, this was the early 1980s, that this home had been declared an historic landmark. And it was torn down that day.
The day you saw her, the day you were running.
The day following. The following day, I was running around 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night. And the following morning, it was on the news that the building had been torn down. And there had been a court order telling the construction company to cease and desist.
Why? Do you know why?
Because it was declared a historic landmark. And apparently, the court order did not get to the job site in time. God knows what that was all about. But the building was torn to the ground. And in my mind, where I'm formulating what this was all about, was just this person or the spirit of this person reminiscing or just being sad and looking out at that view for the last time.
And I heard there's one more about people you could see right through when you were on a walk or a run. This time in Hampton, New Hampshire.
Give up running. I think.
Yeah. What is it? What happens with you when you're running? You're running and you see all these weird things. Maybe the spirits are trying to tell you that cardio is not your thing.
Wouldn't be walking with a cane.
I know. This is very kind of wonderful for these stories. It matches the part.
The second full-body apparition I saw, we had moved up to New Hampshire around the mid-1980s. And my cousin, curiously enough, who I grew up with in Brooklyn, bought a house literally within 200 yards of our house. Mm-hmm. It was an old house. It was
very close, I remember.
And he had gutted the house. And as he was gutting the house, they were having a number of experiences. Like, for example, they would find drops of blood on the floor. They'd find the first crowbar he put into the door and pull away the plaster laugh, a card from a game fell out, and it
I
said,
remember this as a kid.
"Please stop. You know not what you are doing."
Hmm.
Which kind of got everybody's attention. But also they had situations where change would roll across the floor, a penny, and stand on edge on its own. That was, that certainly would get my attention.
Me too.
Well, before the house was even occupied, I was out on a run one day, and I looked over into the driveway, and I saw what I thought was a TV on. And meaning that I could see, the blue light coming from the inside of the building. And I said, wow, that's interesting. I didn't realize they had moved in.
Right.
Well, point of matter, they did not move in. I walked up closer to the house, looked in, and saw an older man with a younger woman under his arm, looking very sad.
How were they dressed?
Staring. They were dressed in, best I could describe it, turn of the century
period clothing.
Just staring out into the driveway. And once again, I cut my run short. Made a U-turn.
Right. Your heart's beating fast enough. You probably burn all those calories.
Ran right back to the house
running.
and described to my wife what I had seen. Now, my cousin who owned the property, his wife was really into this whole thing. She dug into it and found out that a much older man had lived. She went back. She actually got the town hall records. Was married to a very, very much younger woman, and there was some sort of tragedy that I don't know. I think a child had passed, but
like a ship captain.
Two times that I saw. Yeah. I don't recall.
It's that area though of the country where it's like it's people would go out to sea and not come back.
But again, those are the 2 times that I have seen full-bodied apparitions, and caught one on film once, which I think Orvin may have shared with you.
Oh yes, I have that. I have that photo I've shared with James. I will make sure to send it to him so he can show it. We're in Salem, Massachusetts. I used to live there for 2.5 years. It was around Halloween time, and it was in the Charter Street Cemetery, which dates back to the 1600s. And my dad took a photo, and there was no one there. And in the photo, there was a man with a bowler hat standing at a gravesite.
As I said before, I don't want to tell too many of these stories. It sounds like you're, how lucky am I for all this to happen to me? And the answer again is I observe, I look, I see, I look at everything around me, and there's not a whole lot that I miss. So, but anyway, that's my story, and
those are a few more. We have more if you're interested. If we're still interesting enough, there are more about psychic dreams and things like that. But hope you enjoy. Thanks for having us back. And thank you to the gentleman who knows Torrington, Connecticut and could relate to that. But thanks as always, James, for having us on. Love what you're doing. And everyone,
I'd be curious to see if any of your viewers know Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. They'll know exactly what I was talking about.
We'll peek at the comments. We'll be there. And thanks for having us. Bye. Thanks, well. James. Be well.